Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics about spirituality and introspection. And well, this video is gonna be about ignorance, which kind of is the most bothering and troublesome thing on the planet as things are and as things go. Ever since we have been born, we have been taught that everything has to be strict, everything has to be, secure, everything has to be in a rigid position. As I've been saying in previous videos, this is kind of bothersome in a way because the whole planet, the whole existence is shaped by the way we feel, by the way we think, and not because we are humans, and that would give us more power. It's because, well, we do have some power, but we don't know how to use it, how to make good use of it. And unfortunately, this ignorance is, well, having us pay some old debts. Ever since we have been here, ever since you have been on this planet, you have been taught to accept things, to not ask, to not question, to doubt yourself, right? While doubting yourself can be a good thing in a way because the self is kind of a prison, it is kind of a creation of us because in order to do something in this world, one requires a certain ego, one requires a certain uh, lens through which to see things, but unfortunately, people become simply attached to the lens, right? And then we have all sorts of ideas, all sorts of things that pop up, and even parents fight against us because they end up uh, using their old ways on the new generations because, well, when people are ignorant, they expect others. It's not just a want, it is an expectation of others to simply become at least as ignorant as they are, because that's how you can be easily controlled. Also, they use different other strategies like angering you. Advertisements anger you, teachers bother you. Everything is just parasites in this society seeking constantly for attention. It just shows how narcissistic society truly is, and when you look at the top, you just see the best of narcissists. Little, well, basically no empathy for anyone else. They just are interested in, bunching together and, always fighting against enemies that are only in their heads. Because in this life, you have to understand one thing. You are always alone in this life. Yes, you have been taught that you are alone, but you have been taught one wrong thing. You have been taught that you are powerless. The problem is, for many, is that you are powerful. But the reason why you are taught to be powerless is because so many people who bunch themselves together against the whole population, right? They consider that, or you should be considering yourself as powerless. They want you to feel powerless because when you are powerless, you simply give up anything and everything and you simply embrace ignorance because that gives you a sense of security and safety. And it also traps you in the expectation that others will move their finger for you, but no one will move a finger for you. In this society, we are the only ones who can be saved. If you can look at life from a simple perspective, the clothes that you wear are simply and definitely not yours. The thoughts that you have in your mind are all from an external source. You learned them in time. You took them from others, willingly or unwillingly. They were drilled into your head, aggressively or passively aggressively, or just passively. You heard them from others, you saw them on the internet or any other source, and simply you bunched them in your mind, considering that, well, there is no better alternative, then, well, you stick to just that. And then you have nothing else than your own emotions, okay? Emotions which are the motions of life, okay? The energy motions of life. These are the ones that remind you that you are alive, but unfortunately, you're not taking care of yourself because you're an ignorant. Is the problem. Your ignorance is other people's powers. You have to understand that everything in this life is nothing else than a vehicle. Your parents are a vehicle that allow you to simply enter this world. And you have to also understand that most likely you didn't ask your parents to give you birth. They only gave you birth because, well, in so many children's case, they simply could not hold it. Most likely they gave you birth because people are afraid of what the neighbors might say, and there are always those, the stupid people who will always ask you when you get married, when are you going to get children like everyone else, because so many people are knowledgeable of the pains they go through in their marriage, in their ignorance, in their self-ignorance, in their running away from themselves, because why would you do something that makes your life better, right? When you can simply always and constantly embrace victimization, and through that you will attract some attention from others. Because you can attract attention from others by including them in your life, or by constantly bombarding them with things that bother them. Because if those people are also ignorant, what bothers them will always be in their mind, and that is why they will suffer. Suffering appears as a signal that you are not doing something right, you are not doing something good for you, and that is why it will always be there. It is something that ultimately reminds you that you are alive, because ignorance can go very, very deep, and to become ignorant, you have to separate yourself from emotions, because emotion is energy in motion. Emotions are the vibrancy of life, and when you ignore that, you are technically dead. Okay, because so many people die at the age of 20 to 30. That's how butchery society is. It butchers children from a young age with school and dumb parents that haven't been trained on how to properly raise their children. Although so many people, write an abundance of books on, parenting, although they don't even know what the concept might actually mean, because parenting implies taking care of your child at a mental state, at an emotional state, at a spiritual state, and so many other things to do. But children are just born because, well, parents still live in that dumb old mentality and mindset that you have to give birth to a child so that you have someone to take them to the grave. And then, of course, they have to drill all the negativity and the shit they're constantly creating into a child, which means simply denaturating and ruining a pure life, which is one of the most hideous things to do. And, well, a child may occasionally or in many situations become a bigger monster than their parents are. With all these said, this is kind of a problem because each and every new generation is installed with powerful karma from the ancestors. Of course, you cannot ever blame ancestors for being ignorant because that is their life, and they lived their life to the, well, let's say, extent they could, and to the extent that they allowed themselves to. And let's not forget that, in many videos I've been saying about, history and Europe being the blind followers of a religion that simply crippled the whole world. Okay, a religion that simply spread like poison in Europe and created a lot of karma. This karma of our ancestors for 500 and 600 years persisted in, ignorance and always repressing the feminine energy, because once you repress feminine energy, there is little to no more flow of creation. And with no more flow of creation, you simply reside in male energy, which means that you will only live in rigidity. You will not accept something new, and you will always oppose change, because, well, you have become fully fledged ignorant. And ignorance breeds narcissists and sociopaths and all sorts of other people who will do nothing else than abuse others, usually more than they have been abused, especially if they end up on the narcissistic spectrum. And then they will breed children who will do the same because they will believe that's the only way. And then you have this for 500-600 years before Europeans started moving away and conquering the whole world, and as they did, they spread literally everywhere, and they also had children everywhere they went because a lot of the Europeans settled anywhere they got. And as they settled and had children, they also mixed their own karma with that of the inhabitants, right? And that allowed the European suffering because of Christianity to spread in the whole world, which meant that, disaster and ignorance simply spread all over the world. Now you have countries, now you have constitutions and so many concepts that simply induce separation so that other people just thrive upon your freedom, right? Because your freedom is nothing else than slavery. It's been said in 1984, a novel which shows a dystopia, right? But it also says some truths. And the only truth that you need to learn is that the truth can never be ever taught. It can only be realized. Anything that is told to you is only a story until you simply experience it. When you have experienced it, you know simply that that becomes your reality, that becomes your truth, because, well, the truth can only be experienced. That is why in this society, everything regarding the truth has been reversed. People don't want you to know the truth. They just want you to know all sorts of things as if they are the truth. And, things are usually taught in reverse because, well, when you can turn someone against themselves, well, that's when you win the war. As a character in a novel of mine says, in order to conquer your enemy, you need to overwhelm them with your own demons of decadence and decay and ignorance, and once you propel your enemies in ignorance, they will simply comply and submit to each and every rule that comes on them. So that's why you can easily win your enemies, right? Without necessarily having to fight them. That is how occult societies rule over the world, through rituals and all sorts of ideas and ideologies that simply suppress thinking. Think about nowadays. So many years ago, YouTube was free and abundant with people who would create all sorts of things, but their ignorance simply allowed YouTube to create some community guidelines that never belonged to the users. They are just some guidelines that, well, technically shouldn't even exist. And, once they are put on the internet, they disallowed a lot of people to simply post their, context, their content. And, well, that's how power started to grow. So many people just gave up, embracing their own ignorance more and more. And, well, that is why there are so few people who simply propel the truth in these days. The truth that there is spiritual warfare, right? And the truth that technically, on a metaphysical level, you are always alone. Even on the physical level, you are also alone. But the purpose in life is to always gain trust of other people and include the right people in your life, because it is always much easier to achieve things in a group. But in the end, you have to become good at your own things or at your own thing if you want to do only one thing in life and do it even better than many others. The point is, many people kind of don't understand that everything is just a tool that you use. Your parents are a tool that allow you to come into this world. Your friends are tools that you use so that you don't feel alone and that you create beautiful and long-lasting emotions, which, when you'll be on your deathbed and you draw the line, you'll only remember the emotions, right? The emotional attachment you have created to all sorts of events and things in your happening. And then, well, that's one point, right? When you realize that literally everything is a tool that allows you to make your life better if you allow it also, um, well, that's how you start realizing that there is so much more than just several concepts that were drilled into your head just so that, I don't know, you live life expecting the least, not wanting anything, and allowing others to simply unite against you and fight and treat you as if you are some cattle, as if you are nothing, because that's how things are. In this world, only criminals usually gang up because you always have to have a big gang of criminals if you want to commit crimes against society. And, well, in life you only need friends to achieve a certain thing, right? You don't need them necessarily for what people call intimacy. Because intimacy is, as another character of mine says, intimacy is when someone gets to know you, to your greatest depths. And, when someone gets to understand you beyond certain limitations of yours, when someone can help you with things that you cannot understand, when that your mind cannot contain, and when someone can offer you certain things for you because they feel it so, without you even asking. That's what intimacy is called. But everything has been reduced to a lower level, to a lower level of sexuality, and everything is made to be used as an object, okay? Even your friends, your so-called spouse, your so-called girlfriend or boyfriend, they are nothing else than objects of your own ego. You just want them because you know they can ensure a certain thing for your existence, because you're just ignorant. If you have simply experienced the huge amount of pain that ignorance creates, well, that's when you start, unveiling things beyond your physical existence. That's when you become what people call as spiritual. And when you become spiritual, you realize that there are so many things you have been missing, you have been skipping. There are so many things that have been influencing your life. When you become enlightened, you only realize how much of a slave you have been to your own mind, and most likely to the will of other people. Because whoever has a control over their own energies, inherently they will have control over the ignorance. Whoever controls history, which is his story, not your story, then the problem is they also control the people. Whoever controls the mass media, they also control the people. And the mass media only pushes further ignorance and fear, because fear propels you into ignorance when you feel powerless. And all these together, so many thousands of things ritualistically repeated again and again against you and your kin, just to keep you in ignorance. Just sleep, don't question society, don't question control, just obey. That is how things exist in this life. And also, let's not forget, there is also religion. You are taught that you have to abide to a single entity that has created the whole world. And then you create yourself as a warrior in this society that abides to those things, logically accepts them and fights against anyone who is different. Because that's how two types of people exist in this world: stupid people and criminals. And usually criminals are stupid people. Not all of them, but many of them are. And they always have to gang up because, when you fight against the many, you always have to gang up, right? But the problem is, the many are just an enemy in their heads. Billionaires nowadays are just ganging up, piling up on money, and treating everything as objects. And they invent prices, and then they buy things based on exorbitant prices by simply, rolling the money from one to another, while acting as an economical black hole that simply strips people of their lives, of their spouses, of their family, creating diseases and ignorance more and more diseases and lockdowns for people to be kept inside. Because it is high time you humans wake up. It is high time you do something. Now people of the billionaire stage, they want to go into space. Most likely they want to create a parliament and a new world order government that so many people fear. They want to make it probably on the moon or whatever. And most likely they want to make some kind of space satellites that, they can use to reshape the world if they don't like. If they don't like a mountain because they're too bored of their pathetic lives, they might just wipe it out with a laser from space. They might wipe out the whole human breed or just leave a few of them, and keep them in terror, and shape their beliefs and in such a way that they create a pantheon in which these billionaires, become the gods, right? So things can vary and can go in very awkward ways. Why do you think you're always fed those dystopian movies? It's because that's how so many people want your life to be. But you're just an ignorant fuck, most likely, who will call other people COVIDiots because they fight against, COVID. Okay, COVID is your reality. It's your distraction. You will die for that because in ignorance, that's how life is. You won't accept any change, right? Everyone is just a conspirational theorist, right? a term created by the CIA in the 70s, right? You believe in separation of humans because you have suffered and you want everyone else to suffer because there is no other way, right? You believe in what Blumenbach created in the 70s, mid 70s, the ideas of race, the ideas of countries, right? The ideas of black people as a separate race, the idea of white people as a separate race, and all sorts of these ideas that constantly reinforce, you know, all these ideas, right? All these things, all these separations, right? Because you're just afraid to watch yourself in the mirror and say, you're a black supremacist, right? You want all white people to die. But just look yourself in the mirror and imagine for a second that you have white skin instead. If you suddenly, God flipped his fingers, right? And you suddenly turn white skinned, then guess what? You're still a human. If you're a white supremacist, how about you dare watch yourself in the mirror without the ignorance and the egotism within you? Just watch yourself in the mirror and suddenly think that you have black skin. You're still the same human. So many people tell you that you suck. So many people tell you that you're not good enough. So many people argue that you're not anything that's gonna be good in society. Who cares about society? Society doesn't care about you. Society needs you. You don't need society. You can live without society. All the people are doing nothing else than allowing billionaires to fulfill their twisted dreams. They don't have any dreams, they just are obsessed with more money. With America printing millions of dollars each and every day, you can see how twisted these people are. They print so much money just that they accrue them. And then they invent prices on literally everything. And they buy everything. Now they buy space. Who the fuck cares about space? It is free. It is free for everything. It is free for everyone. Because there is no price on anything. But you just allow them to put a price tag on you. To put, you know, everything about you, right? To put a gender on you, to put a nationality on you, to put even a religious belief upon you that you weren't born to simply accept. You just accepted them because, well, everyone else is lost. But you don't have to be lost because most likely you hate this world. But the reason is you don't like this world and you don't fit this world is because you came here to shape it into something better. You came here out of people's ignorance. Most likely they gave birth to you because their neighbors constantly nagged them. When are you going to get married, right? Because we are suffering because our stupid marriage, because we are too stupid to ever do something to improve our knowledge about ourselves and the other people. And we just pleasantly and willingly enjoy the pain of sitting with someone who simply ruins our lives, but at the same time we also enjoy ruining their lives, right? So how about you do the same thing and suffer with us, right? And dance this, round dance of ignorance in which we all suffer, but it's okay. It's okay, everything is good. It's bad. Our bodies scream of ignorance. Each and every one of our cells pains but and aches, right, in ignorance, in a black hole of ignorance. But it is okay. It is okay. Just stay asleep and, continue with ignorance. Believe that God will suddenly move their finger when they remind that we actually exist and, everything will disappear. Everything will come back to the normal that will never ever be. Never will things go back to normal because, well, first of all, it's never wanted to be normal. I mean, why would billionaires want the pathetic rabble to work for them? They just want AI, right? They just believe they're too good for you. After all, you are the ones who have allowed them to get all the billions that they have. And well, technically, they built their own billions because America is printing millions of dollars, and well, the dollar is one of the most important uh, currencies in the world, right? Why do you think it's called a currency, right? It's a current of energy that flows. Money is energy, but no one teaches you that. And of course, you have to be taught that you are poor. And of course, billionaires don't care about you. They would simply ditch you, but you are too ignorant to accept that, okay? You're just willingly to fight for a vaccination that won't do you anything. It probably will immunize you for a disease, or it will probably kill you. And, well, don't worry about that. If it kills you anyways, you're just an ignorant fuck. No one will give a damn about you. And the ignorance will just enjoy someone else's death and someone else's pain because it's not gonna be an easy death. Oh no. Narcissists don't want you to die don't want you to die easily. No, 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 no. You have to die painfully. Because if you die painfully, you will have a long time till you can get reincarnated here. And as long as you spend your time in the period between incarnations, you are far easier to be programmed for your next life, to be even more ignorant, so that any other child, of greater vibration that comes into this world will be lowered to your idiocy, so that, well, they will fail any mission that they would have that would allow the world, the planet, to become simply much more positive vibrational, right? People have to understand there is no need for money. Okay, one day all the people in the world can say, you know what, you take all the money, you do whatever you want with it. Okay, it is you who are fighting against yourselves, because you are building the 5G networks that billionaires want for you. You are building the cars of the future. You are building the satellites and everything that they want. Now they want a Japanese billionaire on the moon, and they want to build hotels on the moon or even on Mars. Well, no problem with that, but if you play games as Red Faction and such, you will see what your problem is, okay? We have laid waste to this beautiful planet because of our ignorance. Now people want to terraform Mars and create a wasteland out of that as well, okay? All those video games, all those movies with dystopias have the effect of making you turn this world again and again into more and more of that. And, well, your ignorance is bliss, they say. But no one ever asks themselves whose bliss that is, because I've never ever seen blissful ignorance. To be blissful means to be fully existent and vibrant in all of the spheres of life. But this is the complete opposite of ignorance. So why is ignorance bliss? Well, no one seems to ask whose bliss that is in the end. Well, you're the ignorant ones, and the billionaires are the blissful ones. So all this being said, well, take care of yourselves, become less ignorant, and learn that things will never ever be, like they once were. It can't be ever again, okay? And even billionaires and the occults, they have to abide to certain, universal laws, to certain universal rules. They cannot break those, else they will lose their whole power, okay? And just like Russell Brand said, okay, in one of his videos, Edward F. Edinger, okay, said, history and anthropology teach us that a human society cannot long survive unless its members are psychologically contained within a central living myth, right? You have the myth of God, you have the myth of society, you have the myth of everything. You have the myth of survival. Why do you have survival in such a society? There are no wild animals hunting you. We are the supreme species on this planet because our adaptability allowed us to become what we are. And we become unconsciously what we are, right? We became unconsciously so. Imagine what we can do if we become conscious, okay? And such a myth, all these myths provide the individual with a reason for being. And those are just wrong reasons, because you believe you exist for God. No, God would exist for you, because creation allows things to become into existence, and simply creation lives for you, and you also live for creation. It is a never-ending dance that simply happens until you simply remember entirely that you are just a bit of creation, not a piece of earth that you will simply return back, okay? And then, when you realize this, you will always long to become one with creation again. So everything that is mental, everything that is twisted in this world, simply is no longer of any interest to you, because it no longer serves a purpose to you. You have transcended the mind. You have transcended literally any meaning, any psychological, physiological need, and you will become spiritual. Once you become spiritual, you are a danger to others. That is why there are psychiatry wards, because once you can hear and see beyond the physical, you are deranged. Once you can do this, once you can tap into so much potential that the human body has, you are gonna be a wrong person. Once you can think for yourself, if you can think for yourself, that is the greatest danger for ignorance, because and also for billionaires, because billionaires want you ignorant, and well, if you can think for yourself, you're a danger, because you will fight for things and ideals that belong to you. You will no longer support ideals of others. And this has to start within all the people, because the military are supporting the billionaires through their actions. You are going in wars that simply do not take you into account. You don't have any business going in Afghanistan and Iraq and fight people that you don't even know, fight people that haven't even hurt you. They didn't even do anything, and you're just installing a stupid regime that you're just blindly following because you believe that is your purpose. And then you come back deranged and twisted by war and crimes and seeing your friends die, friends that are as innocent as you, and they all die. One, some of them, not all. And you come back disturbed and deranged in a society that will view you as too deranged and insignificant, because in the end, those people you have served don't give a damn about you. They will give some medals, they will give you some money, but ultimately, they will never be enough for your whole existence. They might cover a bit of the survival of the physical, but you have committed crimes. You have killed people that simply didn't have anything to do. You believe that you are protecting your own country, but no one has ever attacked America and no one ever will. No one simply cares about attacking another country. People barely survive in these days, and the only thing you can think of is your jet aircraft, your tank, your gun, and, ruining families and lives in different countries that you have no business with. Then you come back home and you wonder why you are seen as a traitor, why you are seen as, a monster. And at the same time, you are a monster. You have killed so much. You have twisted yourself so much. You've been so much in ignorance. And you've also witnessed the death of your close ones, so many of them, that you are simply no longer fit for society. And, well, then you realize the ultimate truth that society never cared for you. All those people you thought you fought for, right? And then you realize the even worse truth that, well, you have ruined families. There where you have gone, you have killed men, you have probably killed women, you have probably killed children. You have ruined families there where you have been. The police also fights against the population by preserving, face masks and lockdown. You're just doing the billionaires' work because you're ignorant. You're always gonna create separation. You're gonna identify with a piece of separation, and you will even die for that piece of separation. How many crimes will you still commit? Because ignorance is the greatest crime against humanity. You have to understand that. There is no other crime in this world than simply the aspect of ignorance. Because through ignorance you commit literally anything else, okay? You commit a murder because of ignorance, okay? You are ignorant to life, to the sensibility of life, to the sensitivity levels and layers of life. And through all that, you will create only suffering, only pain, and, well, that is how society has existed. These generations have to understand that, well, life is so much more than that, and we, the current generations, have to change ourselves to make our children live in a better world. We may not have experienced the best raising, we may not have experienced our best lives, but we are strong for a reason. We have to make sure that the next generations will live a better life, because nowadays to give birth to a child is even a greater murder than simply killing them, right? And remember in the 30s, what did that female say, that supported along with all these billionaires the idea of, picking the best genes in the world, right? And always favoring the greatest genes in the world, right? These have been you know the eugenists, right? Eugenism, right? Favoring the greatest genes, right? There have been prizes that were given to American families in the older times, right? In the previous in the last 2 decades, right? And there were even contests, right? And they knew based on so many, papers, which family came from what other family, right? And they would always prioritize the greater genes, And one of the sustainers, right? One of the greatest supporters of that idea, a woman, said the greatest thing you can do to your child is to kill them, right? If you have such psychopaths, such apathic people rule over you, then you simply deserve your fate. You simply deserve to be killed by these people, because what they are doing is they are slowly and ritualistically killing you. They are turning your mind against yourself. They are turning your energies against yourself. And the only thing you're doing is you're stabbing yourself slowly. And they are thriving on your pain. They are thriving on your ignorance. They are drinking it. They are simply savoring it bit by bit. And all the billions of people, they are just suffering. Luckily and fortunately for them, and unfortunately for billionaires, is that people are waking up. People are realizing that love is the only constant in this world, and you just have to open it yourself to it. Love is not sex. Love is not pornography. Why do you think that pornography is such a great industry? Because it just promotes people using another one just as a vessel. Everything that you see in pornography is nothing else than trauma. Traumas that you also have, and you're feeding those to yourself. And, well, you're ruining yourself more and more. So all this being said, well, hopefully if you enjoyed this video, hopefully you, well, wake up a bit more to how society is. And, well, I will keep creating such videos when the inspiration comes. You are loved and appreciated. Take care of yourselves, and remember, do not be an ignorant. Do not play the games of others, because ultimately this is the play that we all experience. This is a play we all have a performance in, right? Shakespeare said, life is a stage and we are all just actors, right? So, all this being said, take care, become less ignorant by the day, and do whatever possible to ensure that the next generations that come will enjoy an even greater life than you had, because that is ultimately your purpose. You may not have had the greatest and most pleasant of experiences, but except venoms, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So the point is, you have gone through all the traumas to have the chance to become a better parent, so that you raise a better generation of children, so that they can raise a better generation of children themselves, and they can shape society in a better way that our ancestors failed to. Okay? All this being said, take care. You are loved and appreciated. Ferengian Board signing out.